picture. This is Spalding, actually, on the first time I met him. Was this a Halloween party, or was this just like a Tuesday night at your house? Because I got hooked when I was in college, and I started photographing my friends in a documentary fashion. But I also convinced Spalding to be in this project where it was an English class, and I had to interpret The Sound and the Fury, Faulkner's novel, in photographs. And so I roped Spalding into a couple of these. This is really my favorite. This is Spalding over here. I can't remember the scene from the book, but that's when you know you really have got the photo bug, when you're convincing your English professor that what you're going to turn in is a bunch of photographs as your project. Okay. So these are more from daily life in college, and I was shooting black and white. I think I was just happy to be taking pictures. Most of the people in these photographs are my friends. I was going to parties and kind of daily life, and I think that sort of tradition, that documentary tradition of just photographing the world as it is, that's what I love. People playing sports, people talking. This is just daily life, and I'm kind of getting my, I'm just getting my legs as a photographer. Okay, so what I want to do is jump a little bit ahead from college, because this first project, which is about the Staten Island Ferry, is where I felt like I was really starting to find my voice. It's one thing being comfortable taking pictures, but developing your own sort of voice and actually being able to put it into the frame is something different. And it first happened for me on this project. And I basically rode the Staten Island Ferry back and forth for about 2 weeks straight. And the thing I liked about working in a place like this is that the boundary was somewhat limited. I just stayed on the boat, and every 30 minutes a whole new group of people would get on. And what people usually ask me about this project is they sort of say, well, were you talking to people? Were you fly on the wall? And this is something that, for me, I'll use whatever tools I have in my bag to get the picture. So, for example, this is actually through a window, so this guy never saw me. So this is kind of a fly-on-the-wall type of picture. This person never saw me either, and I'm just kind of creeping up behind them. And what I love is, the tie over his shoulder, in a way it tells you the story of the wind, but in kind of a more subtle detail. So in this sense, this body of work was really the first project where I felt like I was telling a story with a series of pictures. And that's really still what I'm doing today, but this is the first time that it was really successful. Sometimes people don't get this, but this is important, okay? That's Osama bin Laden's head in the bottom of the urinal, which I only saw once in the bathroom of the Staten Island Ferry, and I never saw it again, but I always thought these would have been just like great sellers all over. Yeah, but the ferry is very interesting because you have commuters. This is, 8 a.m. on a Monday morning who are just tired and they're on their way to work, and then you have people late at night coming home. And it's also interesting because you've got great light and you can go at different times of day. We're going to jump ahead again a little bit. So now I'm a photographer, right? I've got my portfolio and I'm doing some magazine assignments. And when you do assignment work, you're constantly thinking of the editor. When you're an artist inside and when you have, a way of seeing the world, you've got to find your own way. This is from a golf tournament that I was covering. This picture never ran in the coverage, but this was my picture. And I'm going to just show you some of these from some different assignments. These are examples of, I'm on an assignment, I'm pleasing my editor, I'm doing the job I need to do, but I'm still making pictures for myself. That just takes time, and that takes experience to kind of have that confidence to sort of switch gears and just think purely for yourself. I mean, it's all related to the fashion work, because I hope what you guys can see is there are some themes popping up as far as, uniform and color and limbs, and these sort of, to me, these kind of non-moments or off moments. I like to think about finding pictures when really nothing is happening. This was a food assignment to photograph the chef, which is this guy at his restaurant in New Orleans. And I get there and I'm talking to him and he's like, listen, I need like 10 minutes before we can do the picture, I've got to go have the chef's meeting. And I said, wait, what's the chef's meeting? And this is the chef's meeting. I mean, like, that's the picture. If I hadn't photographed this, it would have been him in the kitchen with a plate of food, just very sort of, we've all seen those pictures before. But this was really special. I think the thing that's starting to develop at this stage is I'm starting to focus on what I want the picture to be. It's this idea of intention. I don't need their expressions. I just like what's happening in here with the gloves and just this little moment. And then this guy back here is kind of what makes it for me. So that idea of finding a very specific composition within a crowd, that's still what I do today, and that's still what all those Fashion Week pictures are like. Okay, let's talk about the dogs for a second, because this is... I first went to the dog show on an assignment, and when I wasn't photographing the assigned person and their dog, I would go back and just shoot whatever I wanted to shoot. The thing that's just fun and funny about photographing dogs is that they're very unpredictable, and when you're in this type of environment, all the attention is on the dogs. There's this chaos, you know, with the dogs, and I like to be in the middle of that. Yeah, this is what I want in a picture. I want color, something funny, and there it is. It's all right there at the dog show. This woman explained to me that this paw print was actually the paw print of this dog. I don't know. So the other thing that happens is when you start going, then people start telling you more. And this is kind of an interesting thing. You know, you go to one dog show and people say, oh, well, if you like this, you should go to this, and oh, we're having this party. And this is what happened to me in the dog world, and it's what took me from New York to Paris to Romania. Last summer I was in Helsinki at the World Dog Show taking pictures for Time magazine. And then people start knowing you like, oh yeah, Landon Nordeman, he's the dog guy. Even Brenda has got some of my dog pictures. And the reason that we're talking about this is because a very smart editor at New York Magazine saw these pictures and thought, oh, I've got an idea. I want to send this guy to Fashion Week. These are all the photographers at the dog show. And this is the best in show dog, the one that has just won the competition. And one thing that I've learned is you have to have confidence to kind of find your own perspective on these things. I'm the only one who went to the other side, which is why you can see all the photographers in the picture. Because I had this belief, this innate belief, that this dog, it's a dog. It doesn't know to look at the photographers. So I know and I believe that it's going to turn the other way. And so part of that confidence and that like real belief in how a picture happens is something that my experience has taught me, and it's what makes this picture. Okay, we'll talk about Times Square for a little bit too, because these are all kind of event-driven things, like the dog show, you go there. I wanted to work in Times Square. If you're a photographer in the documentary tradition, you know so many photographers have worked in Times Square. It's just so iconic. And so I spent 10 days there just basically watching the world go by. And it's a great lesson in patience and in a way of learning how to just wait for a picture to happen. I mean, this person is walking down the street in Times Square, and when you just walk, you don't see it, you have to stop. And so this is also a way that I really like to work, and it's something that, it might sound simple, but it's really hard to make yourself do it. We're always going from one place to the next, but as a street photographer or a documentary photographer, what you learn to do is just stop, and just watch. And I love that. I could do that all day long. If I could really just get paid to just take pictures like that every day, I would. Because it's the most exciting thing. And the point is, that's where you see a picture like this. I'm stopped at this corner, there's beautiful light, I like the crosswalk, and I'm just waiting for my subject to come into view. And here it comes. And in Times Square, because it's so crazy, and it literally is like the crossroads of the world, you just never know what's going to be walking towards you. It's something that someone was asking me about downstairs. It's a little bit this idea of you have a little bit of mystery, or you can't quite tell what's going on, but that's another thing that I try and do in my work. It's like I'm giving you a clue, or I'm giving you a hint or a reference, but you've got to complete the rest of it yourself. They saw my dog show pictures, and they basically handed me this dream assignment. They said, Landon, we love your work. We just want you to do what you do at Fashion Week. There's no agenda. There's no you have to get this, you have to get that. It's just go and look. And really, that is, just hearing that made me so happy. The fashion world is crazy. These are fashion bloggers. They're the Beckerman sisters. They're from Canada. And they've kind of become celebrities in their own right. When I first met them, it's twins. It's like, how do you do that twin picture? It's hard. How do you make a picture that's more interesting than just the fact that they're twins? These shows happen in all these really unique locations. And so I like this idea of juxtaposition, of seeing a model in this kind of different context. Where I like to look for those pictures are on the edges, or before the show, or after the show. And this is Diane von Furstenberg and Andre Leontali. You guys know these guys, right? These guys are like larger-than-life personalities. And what they're doing is just having this intimate conversation where Andre Leontali is like, no, and she's like, oh, and it's like, I can't even remember what they were saying. I just couldn't believe that they were letting me be so close to me. Do you guys also know the saying, if your picture's not good enough, then you weren't close enough? That's really important, and it's really important for me. It's said by Bob Capa, one of the great photojournalists. That's how I like to work. I want to be there close. And when it comes to some of these big personalities, I think it's challenging to make a picture that maybe hasn't been seen before. And this is something else that drives my work. It's this idea of, if I'm going to show you a picture, it better be of something you've never seen before, or something you've seen before, but I'm showing it to you in such a unique and interesting way that it's still surprising to you. Part of the challenge at Fashion Week is the access. And when you're working for a magazine, you get a certain amount of access, but some shows, they just say, listen, I'm sorry, we're full, or you can be on the riser only. And this is the hardest part for me, because I like to roam and I like to get close. This is maybe one of the only ones where it's kind of, this is during the show. I believe innately in this thing about, like, the picture is where you are. Looking for details, and here are the dogs again, and backstage. These are really the places where I like to work. Okay, what about Carly Kloss? You guys know who she is? This is her personal handbag with her initials on it. So again, this is like a little detail that that I'm looking for when I'm working. Because this is one where I know New York Magazine wants to see Kendall Jenner. I can't be at the show where Kendall Jenner is and not get a picture of her. Literally a line of photographers, like people literally just waiting in line to kind of have like a minute with her. And I think this works because the person who was in front of me had finished and she didn't think I was ready, so she was just zoning out for a second. And that's the picture. Kind of that non-moment that I mentioned before. That to me is the picture that I want. Yeah, details. I think the thing that happens with Fashion Week, and the thing that's kind of fun about it, is that when you're looking at clothes and all these different colors and shapes, there are really incredible details, more so than maybe in daily life or what you see on the street. So in this instance, I'm backstage at Tom Brown, and I'm kind of in this very tight little space, and I'm looking at the chaos, but you know, I try to say, okay, just what's right in front of you, and this is what I saw right in front of me, and it's just the model. She's put on this feathery dress thing, and she's just kind of getting comfortable in it, doing this thing, and I just kind of crouch down, and that's the picture right there. And so I think that process of discovery and of kind of being aware of what's right in front of you is also something that I've learned to just embrace and realize that, you know, a detailed picture like that can still work. Okay, can we talk about this access thing? Because this is the hardest part for me, is that they don't want to let you see what they don't want to let you see. It's like they want the photographers all to stand in one place and photograph the show. They don't want you cluttering up. They don't want you kind of mixing around or getting in the way. This is Mick Jagger's daughter, Georgia May. Like, that's where I want to work. I want to work before, I want to work after, I want to be behind the scenes. To me, that's where these kind of real moments come. So I put some pictures in because I want you guys to sort of see what it's like back there. This is really the typical atmosphere of behind the scenes at a show. This is Moschino in Italy. Here's Anna Wintour coming to the Todd show. Okay, so fashion is really changing, and I put this in because this is Anna Wintour leaving the Todd show. Look how no one is paying attention to her. But this is what's so just kind of interesting about the right now in the world of fashion. Instagram is kind of where the fashion world is being seen. They're photographing her. She's an Italian fashion blogger who has like 50 million followers on Instagram. I can't even remember her name. It's like Kiara something. Yeah, see, you know. And that is just what is so, it's just so crazy. That's Anna Wintour, like, trying to get through the crowd. And it's like they don't even know who she is. But this is Nicki Minaj arriving to a show, and you can just see, look at all these photographers. Part of this chaos I love because you can kind of blend in, but in another sense, it's kind of ridiculous, and it's really, I just think it's strange how it's kind of gotten like this. Anthony Vaccarello. Someone asked me about this downstairs. This guy is actually the designer of this collection. And this is afterwards. They're doing kind of a typical group shot. And it's moments like this where, you know, I'm there and I'm working with the other photographers, but I'm taking my picture, which is this. Backstage, there's so many people doing different jobs, and one of the things is that the makeup artists come in, and there's one person in charge, and they give them a sort of set of instructions. And that's what this is. This is like their example of saying, I want every model's eyes to look like this. Here's the other challenge, is that now everyone's on their phone. And then all of a sudden it's into the clothes, and that's when like the chaos starts, and you have this little window when they put the clothes on and before they go on the runway. And that to me is kind of like that sweet spot which is like right here. This is an instance where it's that idea of waiting that I talked about in Times Square. When I walked into this show, I was stunned to see this. This is the Eiffel Tower, obviously, and it's like right through the window of where the show. And I photographed this 500 times. I just sat there. I knew that was the picture I wanted. All I'm watching are the models going in front of me. And they're just walking back and forth, and I'm just waiting for that sort of composition where they just are in the right place, the foreground, and that was it. And that was the only thing I cared about from this show. I don't really remember the rest of the show. By the time the show started, I was way gone from this spot, but this spot was just one of those gifts that sometimes you get. I'm so tired, I'm so exhausted myself, but I think I was just drawn to it. I wanted to go lie down on the grass next to it. Anyway, that was kind of in between shows. This is backstage at Yamamoto. There's something about her expression here that, I don't know, it just makes this picture more, something's intriguing about it, interesting about it. Because she looks so tortured. You know what I mean? But not, yes, like, I mean, it's a very painful thing that they go through. But I like this idea of photography being this act of appreciation and celebration. That's the work, guys.
All right.